Twice, she turned down my offer. I've been dating Sierra, 29, for 4 years now. She has my undying affection, and I consider her to be my soulmate. 2 years into our dating relationship, I knew I wanted to pop the question, but I thought I would wait a year to improve my financial circumstances. I made a proposal last year. We went on our first date to the beach, where there was a discreet proposal. She turned to face me and said, "I wanted to marry you, but not right now." She said that she wasn't ready to propose and begged to wait a while before making the decision. It's done now, but it was acceptable to me. I mean, I held off on proposing so I could be in a favorable situation. I should give her the benefit of the doubt. After a year, I made the decision to make another proposal. I wanted to do something nicer this time, so I asked our friends to help set it up. In the city's botanical garden, we planned a formal supper and a proposal in front of a lovely fountain. We went to the fountain after dinner, which went really well and everything was ready. I got down on one knee and proposed to her when she noticed the roses and everything else. That obviously stung, because she started crying and said, "Not just yet." She's rejected me twice now, even though I knew I wanted her in my life forever. She gave me the same response I got from her last year when I questioned why. She simply shook her head when I asked if there was anyone, perhaps friends or relatives, holding her back. All I want to do is confirm that this will function. I was more hurt by this than by the 2 rejections. I told her that if she still wasn't sure after 4 years, what on earth would convince her? I declined her request to give her more time. I informed her that if she continued to say no, I would not waste any more time on a love relationship. I informed her that I was done with this. Even though it infuriated me, I chose to walk away without saying anything and ignored her requests to stay, saying things like, "Fine, I'll marry you, just please don't go." My phone has been inundated with messages from her parents, some of our friends, and her herself, accusing me of being a huge baby and calling me an a-hole for ending a 4-year relationship because she said no. All she needs is some time. Not only do they not support me, but the other half of her pals do not support her. I don't believe this makes me a loser. Have I reacted too strongly? Do I have a bad attitude? In that case, how much extra time should I offer her? Edit, before I made my initial proposal, we had spoken about getting married. She informed me that she couldn't envision herself with anybody else, indicating that she was into it. The thought of marriage appeared to excite her. This is the reason I was surprised the first time and furious the second. The most popular comment is now, not the a-hole. There is plenty of time, 4 years. Moving on is a totally valid decision. She can't expect you to hold out for her indefinitely. She hasn't even offered you a good reason why she can't. I've seen her waiting for something better. This after the initial rejection, she ought to have explained why. Butch never really offered anything definitive, which resulted in the second disaster. Slide the shoe onto the opposing foot. Assume for the moment that she was the one who desired marriage and he was putting it off. He made the right decision at the ideal age, just in time to avoid everyone shouting, "Dude, he's 29 and she can't wait forever. Propose or break up already." Whatever her motivation, she lost out. Whoever gets upset with him for leaving is the jerk. He reached out and was turned down. The "fine, I'll marry you" BS should never be tolerated, therefore I hope he leaves permanently. I hope he's deserving of becoming someone's first pick. Not the a-hole at all. For me, the "marry you" at the end is what really puts it over the top. For that indicates to me that she is aware that she is playing him. She's trying to see if she can find someone better, which is the reason. If not, why suddenly cave in? Weakly, her response is something like, "Oh, heavy thing, but I was hoping for someone better. Now I'm going to lose the thing." Oh no, instead of standing by her guns and saying, "This hurts, but yeah, I can see why you'd want to move on. Our timelines aren't matching up." Not the jerk. Waited long enough. Get over it, you'll be fine. Well done for realizing that you cannot wait indefinitely. Not the jerk. You correctly read it. You do not want someone to say yes if they say no and only agree to do anything after you indicate that you are ready to walk away. Get better and move on. You never get exactly what you want. Simply said, oh, and took away a lesson. Don't make a proposal in public. Not after a single rejection. Not even in the initial instance. Not unless you've already discussed it and you're positive she'll say yes. The second suggestion remained confidential. It was only her and me, but our pals helped us set it up. Public proposals have never appealed to me since I wouldn't want to be rejected and then have everyone turn to stare at me. You seem to have approached marriage and proposals with the right mindset. I know this is a controversial opinion, but in my opinion, if you haven't decided after 2 years that you want to marry someone, you probably won't. When pressure mounts, people occasionally give in, but that rarely results in happiness for either side. Since there's no reason why someone couldn't have a long engagement, her outright rejection of one after a year truly demonstrates her position. Well done for remaining true to yourself and resisting the temptation to believe the sunk cost fallacy. You undoubtedly made the appropriate decision for your long-term satisfaction. Not the jerk. And to you, friend, cheers. Not the jerk. She should become engaged and stay engaged for a long time if she wants to get married. People frequently engage in it. No kids, not getting married was my situation. Then struck up a conversation with my husband. I was aware that he was unique and will always be a part of my life. It was life partners in my imagination. Then, not long after, I became pregnant. 4 years later, he made the proposal. It stunned me. Then, it took us 3 years to get married. She's not ready to settle down, but it sounds like you are. You two can love each other and not be in love, even when it hurts. Next story, did I really lose my health insurance and alimony by turning down my boyfriend's proposal? After divorcing my ex-husband, 47M, 2 years ago, I, a female, 44F, started dating my boyfriend, 45M. Never be dishonest. Despite our many arguments, my divorce was less contentious than I had anticipated. I was married to my former husband James for 21 years, and as his ex-wife, I was entitled to continue receiving his group health insurance in the state of Massachusetts. Furthermore, the judgment mandated that I get alimony for life or until only I, not my ex, married again, as James paid for the upbringing of our 4 children, 21M, 19F, 18M, and 16M. If James or I got married again, I would no longer have health insurance. James, on the other hand, has never hidden the fact that he despises marriage and getting married again even more than he despises me. I didn't work because my ex is a doctor and we calculated that I would never make enough to come close to paying for childcare for 4 kids. Still, to be covered under his health insurance policy, his exact words were, "Well, lucky for you, it's not emotionally or financially cost-effective for me to marry just to get you off my health insurance for the entire length of our marriage." I looked up and discovered that I would be making $17 per hour today if I had kept up my administrative work. Right now, I have no chance of even making that. My significant other and I are deeply in love. I kind of wish I had met him first. In contrast to my former partner, he prioritizes work-life balance and is compassionate, rather than working non-stop between a county hospital and a private practice. But my partner and I don't live together, and we don't share expenses other than the occasional small gift. I appreciate your kindness, however, when I had a pregnancy scare, my boyfriend changed. He stated that he would prefer for us to live together under one roof rather than as 2 divorced parents if I were pregnant again. He then made a proposal. Despite my feelings, I had to decline the offer because, apart from romantic feelings, my health insurance and sole source of income were at stake. I was baffled as to why my lover was acting like this. If we deduct child support, he, a case manager for a non-profit, would only be making half of what I do now, which would undoubtedly lead to conflict between us. Is that me, the jerk? I should also mention that we are unable to live together because doing so would lead the outdated family court rules to believe that my partner and I would be sharing a household. My partner wouldn't support me because we were moving in together. We would be moving in together if I could do so without losing my benefits. I don't mean to sound impolite, but could you tell me what you do for a living? When the kids leave the house, what plans do you have? This situation just seems like there is too much unpredictability. If I had to rely solely on an unstable source of money, I would be quite anxious. However, you are not me. On the other hand, if something were to happen to your ex, your children would have to take care of you, so I would seek for work for yourself. Would you like that? Because he is a doctor in Massachusetts, she also receives a portion of his retirement income. Most likely, she said. Jesus, I suppose you shouldn't get married in Massachusetts. Staying single is the best way to keep your divorce from happening. You really ought to get your tubes tied with that health insurance. You really don't need another baby, especially at 44 or older. Be done with it already. I'm in my mid-40s with 4 kids. At 48 years old, my mother was an older mother. My sister was 5 when I took over the role of her mother. Her father and mother are no longer with us. When I was 26, my dad was 72 years old, and I buried him. I've missed so much of my life and my kids, and there wasn't enough time. Mom, who is 90 years old, has been battling dementia for 10 years. Even if you receive alimony, why haven't you been working? You might want to be a cake eater even though you're trying to become more independent. You're going to lose this guy because you've demonstrated to him what you value more in this situation. Because she is receiving health insurance and a free check, something that millions of Americans find difficult to obtain. These comments about you don't need a piece of paper to be in love are absurd, and their tone would change if they were to say that they simply don't believe in marriage instead of getting away with it once the kids are grown and moved out. She is definitely the jerk in this situation. Although she disapproves of her ex-husband's lack of work-life balance, she yet values the lifestyle he provides for her to the extent that she turned down her great love's proposal of marriage. There was some cognitive dissonance present. Not that she's not married to a slacker, though. The final anecdote, Mr. A-hole for convincing my friend that settling for less isn't always a bad thing. I was talking to my buddy Anna about her dating experiences. Anna is an extremely attractive woman who has no shortage of suitors. She was out of his league and he knew it, which is why they parted up. He would display insecure behavior. According to Anna, she didn't want to accept anything less than the greatest. Why would anyone settle, she questioned, bringing up my marriage as an exemplary example of love. I informed her that despite not being attracted to me, my spouse settled for me and we had a wonderful marriage. It's hardly the worst thing in the world to be settled for. I have a happy marriage to Alan, my spouse. Lustful high school girls. He suffered severe bullying in both middle and high school. I stood up for him my sophomore year when I moved into his hometown. He had pals at the end of his senior year, and he asked me to prom. Here we are, a happy married couple, 10 years later. I am aware, nevertheless, that my spouse doesn't think I'm attractive. Compared to the ordinary woman, I naturally have more muscle and height. I'm really insecure about it. My spouse said inebriatedly a year after we were married that he didn't think I was attractive and that he preferred small ladies with delicate face features. However, he felt obliged to thank me for what I had done and was appreciative, which is why he asked me to prom, continued our dating throughout college, and eventually proposed. He wasn't attracted to me, but he still loved me very much. He was hungover and had forgotten his confession by morning. Because he says it like it is and lacks a filter, he doesn't drink much. Although I'm devastated, the rest of our marriage was excellent. I kept his words to myself that evening. I don't think most men are drawn to my appearance, but he was a terrific husband. After I told Anna everything, she was appreciative of the guidance. Alan began to cry that evening. I heard him cry softly, yet I still woke up. He acknowledged that he had overheard our chat when I gave him a hug and inquired what was wrong. Since I was in the basement, I didn't think he would hear me, but when he heard his name, he chose to pay attention. I said I was sorry if I had offended him, but it only made him cry more. I'm not sure what went wrong or even if anything went wrong at all. Edit, Anna didn't need my advice to settle. She was never going to be content to settle for anyone. I basically informed her that my marriage is based on settling, and that it's not the worst thing in the world. In the end, my spouse chose me, and we're content. I counseled her to remain loyal to herself and her convictions. The relationship can't progress if she's unhappy. Let the comments begin. You should discuss this with your husband, not because you're an a-hole. It is imperative that you two have a conversation about it, whether he is genuinely experiencing remorse about his revelation or whether it is genuinely causing dissatisfaction in your relationship. Hugh, you are a saint for handling the confession with such grace as well. I've made an effort to discuss what he heard with him. He started crying a little while ago, and I gave him some consolation. I'll let it rest for the time being till he has a chance to express his feelings to me because I didn't want to hurt him anymore. Though you never. No, I don't think he's unhappy in our relationship. It would hurt less if I was a saint, I suppose. However, I adore my spouse and didn't want to ever offend him by bringing up his confession. I don't believe I hurt an a-hole in any manner at all from this. However, I'm wondering if your spouse ever had a conversation with you about it. No, it hasn't really been our priority. He's been sick for a few days, and every time I've tried to check on him gently, he's begun weeping, which I can't afford. I feel bad if I did something wrong to upset him so much, but I've chosen to wait until he feels comfortable enough to discuss before addressing it. You did not make any mistakes. More kindness and grace than one could reasonably ask from anyone have been shown in how you have handled this. He is going through this right now, and it has nothing to do with anything you did incorrectly. He might be understanding at last what it means to you both that he expressed and felt that way. Then forgotten and continued to live with a false secret. There's most likely a mixture of sadness and loss over what may have been. Feelings like worthy of your love, guilt, and shame would be running through your mind. I noticed in a different comment that you intend to discuss it with him tomorrow. To allow him time to collect his thoughts, I would advise you to genuinely give him notice tomorrow and ask him to just have a time to discuss it. You could say something like, I've noticed here is struggling at your assist tank talking about this, but we need to talk it through. Whatever you're feeling about it, I want to know. What I want to work through, whatever it means for us. Shown you that I'll still love you and be there for you since hearing it. Please be there for me and tell me what's happening for you. It doesn't have to be now, but we need to talk about it. Do you want to talk now, on Saturday afternoon, or whatever would be a suitable time that gives him a few days to think things through / gather his thoughts? Then, when you've set a time, drop it fully until then. Go about your days. Don't try to comfort or discuss it unless he brings it up. Just let him process how he needs. If he can't talk about it, you need to get into couples therapy with individual sessions first so he can get it all out without fears of hurting you more with poorly chosen words. Not the a-hole, but honestly, you deserve better than this. It's her call if you accept it, which you clearly have until now. But you're a beautiful soul, and someone out there would find you incredibly attractive. There are 8 billion of us, here's someone's cup of tea. Maybe it doesn't matter that much to you, but it isn't impossible, and you do deserve to feel desired and attractive.